I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. O taste and see that the Lord is good, and his mercy is from everlasting to everlasting. We count it all joy to be found present once more and again on this, the Lord's day. For this is the day that the Lord has made. We ought to rejoice and be glad in it. Greetings to you, the Really Hill Church family, to our friends and loved ones, both far and near. It's just a blessing to come to you once more and again. And by the way, we thank you for all your calls, your texts, your spiritual, physical, and financial support. We pray God's richest blessings upon you, that you don't suffer for anything that you've given, that he only prosper you, bless you. At this time, we just want to have a brief word from 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, and the 13th verse. 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, and the 13th verse. And it reads this way: if there be no resurrection of the dead, then is Christ not risen. But if there be no resurrection of the dead, then is Christ not risen. For a little while, I want to speak from this thought: a dark cloud with a silver lining. A dark cloud with a silver lining. Here, Corinth, very popular city, with a bunch of proud people and proud of their culture. Here's where they had the games, where they competed against one another. Had a lot of they had no moral decency. They worshiped idols and offered sacrifice unto gods. And Paul here, faithful and courageous, challenges those who are under the tutelage of philosophers and teachers and educators to encourage them to just hold fast to their faith and not to let go the hand of the Lord. People were trying to deceive them and draw them away from the teaching of the church. And also, even in the church, things began to happen. They began to compete against one another. And when that happened, the social immorality began to spread throughout the church. But Paul writes to them and encouraged them to love one another. For he says that if I speak with tongues of angels and have not love, I am one of sounding brass and tingling cymbal. A dark cloud with a silver lining. The problem arose in the church, and Paul writes to the church because they're walking around saying, my gift is better than your gift. I sing better than you. I give more than you, so I'm better than you. Sounds familiar because sometimes it happens in our church today. We laud the gifts, but we have to be reminded, as Paul reminded them, that all gifts come from the Lord. He writes to them that we are one body, but have many members. So he addresses these problems and let them know, be careful, all these gifts come from the Lord. And he didn't give you your talent so you can look down on someone else. He didn't bless you with a voice so you can criticize those who can't sing like you can sing, play like you can play. This dark cloud was looming over the church, and Paul was encouraging them to maintain their faith, stay together and stay with God. Yeah, this dark cloud represents the suffering that was going on in the church. And oftentimes when we get away from God, all kinds of stuff happens to us. Many times in life we ask the question, why must dark clouds come in our lives? Why must trouble come in our lives? Why must we go through? Why is it that sometimes our nights are long and our days are short? Dark clouds will rise, but don't focus on the dark cloud, but because behind every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. You ask the question why sometimes loving people suffer so. People who do the most sometimes receive the less. Why? All bad happened to me when I only try to treat everybody right. I don't try to misuse anybody, but I try to love everybody. Try to treat them as I would treat myself. But why? Bad things happen. Somebody cry out, why my daughter? Why my son? Why is it that they're living like they live and I don't live like that? I hadn't taught them like that, didn't bring them up like that. But what is it that make them stray away and get strung out on drugs, become the people of the night? Why? Dark clouds come in good people's life. I didn't ask for it. And sometimes we even cry out, I didn't ask to be in this situation. We look at the dark cloud and we focus on the dark cloud. You cry out, I'm doing the best I can, but look like the best I give, the worst I receive. Well, Job put it this way, man that is born of a woman is of a few days, and those days are full of trouble. Yeah, God could fix it. Well, none of his children ever would have to suffer, that they would never have to go through, but dark clouds come in our lives to help us see the nothingness of ourselves. Dark clouds come in our lives to reveal who we are and who he is. Yeah, dark clouds come in our lives to let us know how helpless we are without God. Yeah, dark clouds come and they represents the suffering. Yeah, but the silver lining represents God after. Dark clouds help us to see who we are and help us to see the worth and value of the God that we serve. Yeah, Romans 8:28 said, for we know that all things work for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Yeah, it may be rough, but it's working for your good. It may be dark, but it's working for your good. Yeah, I've learned how to look past the dark cloud in search of the silver lining. Dark clouds helps us to know who we are and who our God is. Yeah, we know behind every stormy cloud, the sun will shine after a while. Some of the best leaders that God has ever chose had to go through some dark clouds. Yeah, some of the best that God chose went through coming out so they'll know who God is. We look at Abraham, one of God's best leaders. Abraham faced this dark cloud on the mountain. God said, give me your son Isaac. Abraham in his old age and his wife in her old age gave birth to little boy Isaac, and they up on the mountain, the altar is laid, and God said, give him to me. And when Abraham faced that dark cloud, he went on and was doing what God said do. And God said, touch not your son. Do him no harm. There's a ram in the bush. Moses faced his dark cloud at the Red Sea. He said, Lord, I know you called me. He said, but Pharaoh is behind me. Rocks on the left and the right. The Red Sea before me. And your people are grumbling and murmuring. He said to Moses, be quiet and stretch forth your rod. God parted the sea, and Moses were able to go through. Elijah faced his dark cloud on Mount Carmel when the prophets of Baal numbered 400 plus. And he was there alone on the mountain, and he called on God. He said, God, I'm here on your behalf. I'm here doing what you asked me to do. Rain down your fire. I know they've wet the altar. I know they've done what they could do, but I know you're able, Lord. And God answered him on the mountaintop and rain down fire. Yeah, dark clouds help us to see ourselves helpless without God. I tell you, in this pandemic, we are helpless and hopeless without God, but with Him, everything is possible. Yeah, a lot of times there are things going on that takes our attention away from God. But I stopped by to tell you, don't take your focus off of Him. He's still the same God. He said, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He still has the power to do miraculous things. Yeah, if you just call upon Him, He's able to do that you ask and even more. Yeah. Sometimes we'll focus too much on the dark cloud. I stopped by to tell you to look past the dark cloud and see the silver lining. I stopped by to tell you and remind you that trouble don't last always. It may be raining in your life right now, but the sun will shine after a while. There was a dark cloud on Calvary. Yeah, they took my Lord and your God and they marched Him up Calvary Hill. They whipped Him all night long and they marched Him from Judgment Hall to Judgment Hall. By His stripes I'm healed, and the chastisement of my peace was upon Him. Ain't God all right? There was a dark cloud on Calvary when He put the rugged cross on His shoulder, and He began to march up Calvary Hill. A man who knew no sin, but bore my sins and yours, stumbling along the way and dropping the cross. I heard somebody say, must Jesus bear the cross alone and all the world go free? No, there's a cross for everyone, and there's a cross for me. They hung Him high and stretched Him wide. He died. I said He died till noonday, got like midnight, and somebody cried out, surely, sure enough, He's got to be the Son of God. He died. I said He died. What a dark cloud on Calvary. But behind every dark cloud is a silver lining. The story don't end on Friday's death. The story hadn't concluded on Friday. It didn't conclude on Saturday. But early Sunday morning, He got up with all power in His hand. I'm glad that Jesus got up. And because He is risen, one of these old days, if I go in the grave, just as He got up, He'll raise me up. I heard somebody say, some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away and be at rest, because behind all of my dark days, behind all of my dark clouds, a silver lining. It may be rough right now, but hang on in there. Hold on just a little while longer. The storm is passing over. Ain't God all right? What you're going through, it will. I said it will. This too shall pass. Hang on in there just a little while longer, and the storm cloud will pass over, and your silver lining is behind that storm cloud. Trust in the Lord. Don't doubt it. Hold fast to your faith. And watch God change things. Behind every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. God bless you. Go in peace. We pray that God will bless you richly and strengthen your hands in whatever endeavor that you come up against. Be blessed, my brother, my sister. God love you, and we do too.